I need to apologize for what I put in F tier on this list. That's unforgivable. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Khelben's Coin TV, a very special episode here. About a year ago, or a little more than a year ago, I made some tier lists of different things involving Heroes of Might and Magic 2. And I've had a year now of playing the game and also getting feedback from you in YouTube comments and also in Twitch chat about how to evaluate things and where to find value in other things that maybe I was devaluing or overvaluing. And I thought we would look back and see if I still feel the same way as I did over a year ago. I thought it would just be kind of fun to look back. So we're going to start with creatures. I think it might make sense to work from the bottom up. And I don't disagree with what I put in the F tier from a year ago. I know a lot of you guys like centaurs a lot, and I see why, because on paper, they work. They're a first dwelling ranged unit, which is really, really cool. That's why I like halflings. I put the halflings in the D tier. The reason why centaurs are just in the F tier, really two reasons. Their damage range is only 1 to 2, whereas halflings are 1 to 3, so they're potentially better at dealing damage. And also because centaurs are 2 hexes, and it's difficult to protect them. But they are fast, they have an average speed, and they're really good in the early game. But I'm going to leave them in F tier here, personally. The D tier, I don't know. Some of those creatures don't belong in D tier. They actually belong in F tier, I think. I'm going to leave halflings in D tier, but I might actually move boars, dwarves, rogues, and sprites down to F tier. Again, sprites are a first dwelling flyer, no retaliation. That's really, really good. But you need a lot of them for them to be super effective unless you're splitting stacks. If you're somebody who splits stacks, then leave them in D tier. If you're someone like me who likes to leave them in one stack, put them in F tier. It's just there's a good way to use them that puts them on the border between F and D. Rogues, I don't really see any huge value for. Golems, really good castle defenders. I would leave them there. And I'm going to actually bring Earth Elementals from C tier down to D tier. I don't exactly remember why I put Earth Elementals in a tier above the other Elementals. I don't remember, and I don't care because I don't think that way anymore. Put them in D tier as well. They're basically melee-only meat shields. I mean, they don't really have very special qualities. They have resistances, but they also have vulnerabilities, so put them all in D tier. Looking at C tier here, Hydras don't belong there. They should go up, at least to B tier. And Wolves, I'm kind of on the fence about, because while I really like them for their speed and their double attack, they are probably the creature that is most susceptible to attrition. It's really difficult to keep a big stack of them because they get into battles so early, so often in the early game. They just take tons of damage. So for me, they're slipping a little bit from C tier, but I'm going to leave them there. Gargoyles, got to move them back to D tier. Again, I thought, they're a fast creature who flies, dwelling 2 creature, which is really good value. But if you're splitting stacks, C tier probably. But if you're not, then probably move them down to D tier. We already talked about the elemental. Nomads are fast and they're a decent offensive fighter. They're slipping to D tier for me too a little bit. Master Swordsman, C tier for sure. They're like the quintessential C tier creature. A big stack of them is really deadly. Otherwise, they don't fly. They're not particularly fast. C tier for sure. I have Orc Chiefs and Rangers in the same tier, which feels weird to me for some reason. But I don't know which one I would put ahead of the others, so I guess leave them in C tier. Griffins, though. Griffins are susceptible to attrition much like wolves are because they can fly and they get into fights a lot. The unlimited retaliation is really good, but again, Griffins, they're hard to keep in a big stack. I feel like they're slipping down to D tier too. I'm not sure. But Hydra should at least be B tier. They're tough. They deal a lot of damage. They are the best castle defenders in the game if you're looking at pure castle defenders. And by pure castle defenders, I mean units that you would only use for castle defense, really. Although people have been telling me they take Hydras in armies all the time. The castle defenders to me are Hydras, dwarves, zombies, golems, and I think that's all I would categorize as like pure castle defenders, like the units I really only recruit to defend a castle because of their toughness, HP pools, the fact that they can deal a wall up sometimes if you have enough of them. Now, looking at this B tier, it's kind of strange to see skeletons up there, and I think I put them in there because of the necromancy skill. They're directly tied to that skill, and they could just swell. You get the Skeliswole, and that's cool and everything, but pound for pound as a unit, I don't know, man. They're probably D tier, pound for pound. Medusa at B tier. What? Why? Because they stone people? Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I was about to say maybe B tier was where all the creatures can do something with their attacks. Like unicorns can blind, mummies can curse. But why are mummies at B tier? I don't even use mummies anymore. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna bump mummies down to at least C tier, maybe even D tier. I don't really use them anymore. When I play Necromancer, I actually save my money and I skip them and I go as quickly as I can to a laboratory. So mummies are not B tier for sure. Power liches and grandels in the same tier is very weird to me. I do have greater druids in A tier. You know what? I thought about it just now and I like it. Power liches B tier, grandels B tier, greater druids slipping kind of to B tier for me, but Archmagi and War Trolls definitely A tier. I got to talk about rocks in B tier. That seems a little weird to me. I like how they fly and I like that they're scary because they can pack a little bit of a punch. But I don't really put them on the same level in my mind anymore as Ogre Lords or Minotaur Kings. Um, Ogre Lords and Minotaur Kings have grown in admiration for me. You know, I feel them rising up to A tier a little bit. The rocks could either stay B tier if they're going up or slip down to C for me. I love that they fly. I love that they fly, but I'm not a huge fan of the double hex because they can't get into castles easily. If you get a big stack of Ogre Lords or Minotaur Kings, you know that they're going to last to the end of the fight. You can't really count on that with rocks. Rocks are a little squishier. And unicorns at B tier, yeah, they can blind people. A big stack of them is really scary. They don't fly, but you know, they're still unicorns. I still like unicorns. They're still good. All right, we talked a little bit about some of the A tier creatures, like greater druids may be falling, champions may be falling. I think I have them in A tier because of their ultra fast speed, but they're definitely going to fall to B tier for me. I like the Cyclops in A tier. I think they're a scary stack, even though they don't fly and they can paralyze. Like got the double hex attack. That's good. Bone Dragons for sure A tier. Not even going to question that. Big scary unit. Crusaders in A tier. They're also a quintessential A tier unit for me. The double attack, the big stack of Crusaders is almost impossible to kill. They don't fly, but again, like they're Crusaders, they get the double attack. That's all you really need. Archmagi in A tier. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love Archmagi. They're maybe my favorite creature in the game. I think they're the best range unit that isn't a Titan in the game. And I think they're closely followed by War Trolls. Because War Trolls can regenerate and they deal a lot of damage. The thing that makes Archmagi slightly better to me than War Trolls is the no melee penalty. Phoenix in A tier kind of makes sense to me. Ultra fast speed, they get the double hex attack and they fly. Also, as far as a dwelling 6 creature goes, they're relatively inexpensive. 1,500 gold, and it was 1 mercury per unit. I think it's only 1 mercury. It's only 1 crystal for Cyclops, so and it's just gold for a Crusader. So for the cost of acquiring these creatures is pretty minimal. Now we got to talk about Vampire Lords. More so than any other creature in this tier list, I think people had more to say about the Vampire Lord belonging in S tier than anything else, except for maybe the Centaur not being in F tier. If we were to do just a tier list of only dwelling 4 creatures, that is vampires, druids, swordsmen, ogres, minotaurs, and rocks, absolutely Vampire Lords would be in S tier. There's no dwelling 4 creature better than a Vampire Lord. I firmly believe that. Vampire Lords are virtually indestructible by nature of their regenerative ability. And there's no retaliation attack, which means they are less susceptible to attrition than most other creatures in the game. Much like Titans, Black Dragons, and Ghosts, you could probably win an entire scenario with a single army of nothing but Vampire Lords. Vampire Lords is definitely creeping up to S tier for me. You guys made a very compelling argument for them being an S tier, and I gotta say, like, I missed that one. It probably should be an S tier creature, which is crazy because it's only dwelling 4. And you know, I might actually swap Vampire Lords and Genies. I love Genies. They deal a lot of damage. They have that halving ability, and they fly and they're fast. But you know, the Vampire Lord has something special, and I think swapping those places is kind of accurate. And then, of course, Titans and Black Dragons belong in S tier. I don't think anybody argues against that. And I'm going to leave Ghosts in S tier because they're scary. Let me know in the comments what you think about my revisions, because I'm still not entirely sure where I would put certain creatures today. I'm still not entirely sure, but definitely let me know. I want to know your thoughts. Oh, geez. I got to apologize for what's an F tier here. Oh, my word. Oh, my word. Almost none of those belong in F tier. Let me first start out by saying I didn't actually realize how some of these spells worked before I made this tier list, which is stupid. I thought I knew how they worked. I was wrong. I thought visions only told you the outcome of the nearest combat encounter, not all of them on the screen. Similarly, I didn't know that Identify Hero identified all heroes that you can see on the screen outside of Fog of War. Those spells make them definitely at least D tier, maybe even C tier. Those spells are awesome. Really, really helpful spells. Also, View Towns and View Heroes are spells I cast all the time. I'm going to definitely take them on an F tier and put them as high as maybe even B tier. They're that useful. I find them incredibly helpful. View Mines, really helpful if you're lacking a resource for sure. Same with View Resources and View Artifacts. Haunt, somebody in comments, I don't remember who, I'm sorry, because it was over a year ago. They say they like to raid the computer by sending in lesser heroes to steal mines and then cast Haunt on them to slow down their production. And I was like, that's a really interesting way to use Haunt. I would never have thought to do that. Just take a secondary hero who knows the spell, take a couple mines like a sulfur mine from a warlock, or a crystal mine from a knight or a barbarian, and then just cast Haunt on it so they don't get that resource. That's really, really clever. I don't know if I would move it out of F tier for that, but I mean, maybe, probably. Definitely View Towns or View Heroes are way up there, and Identify Hero and Visions are at least C tier for me, honestly. I don't know about Dragon Slayer. It's a very situational skill, and I'm not actually clear by how much it raises the attack skill of a unit against a dragon, and I'm actually also unclear if it includes bone dragons in that logic. Definitely let me know in the comments if you know the actual logic for that spell, because if it does affect bone dragons and it does increase attack skill by 3 or more, I'm going to move it up to at least D tier. Speaking of D tier, yeah, those spells are, they're okay. I would actually probably put Earthquake in F tier. It's a lot of spell points for not a huge effect. Cold Ring going way up there, probably even to B tier. I totally undervalued area of effect spells. I don't know why I did a year ago, but nowadays, if you watch any of the more recent videos, I'm constantly casting Fire Blast, Fireball, and Cold Ring. It's incredibly helpful to kill split stacks and to prevent heroes from fleeing, so you can get their artifacts, stuff like that, and reducing the number of turns they have in a combat encounter. For sure, those 3 spells. I have Cold Ring in D, Fireball in C, and Fire Blast in B. I might move them all up a tier for where they are currently. Again, in C tier, View All, that's got to be an A tier spell for me. I got to bump that way up. Meteor Shower does the same damage as Lightning Bolt, except it's an AoE spell. That has to be A tier as well. Elemental Storm has to be at least A tier. The way you can use it, if you have an army of dragons and phoenixes who are not affected by it, super, super huge spell. What is Set Fire Guardian doing in C tier? I probably bumped that down to D. It could be useful for holding onto your mines a little bit longer, but I don't know why it's in C tier. Don't know why. Curse and Mass Curse, C tier, that makes sense to me. Steel Skin, Summon Boat, so situational. I don't know why Shield is higher than Mass Shield. Mass Shield is only 7 spell points. I was probably making an argument like, oh, Shield is only 3 spell points, whatever. I put them in the same tier, probably put them both in C. And what the heck is Hypnotize doing in C tier? That's an F tier spell. That spell is trash. It's a trash spell for trash people. Again, if you have been able to use it effectively, consistently, let me know how, because I want to believe. I want to believe. But right now, I don't see the value at all. Berserker in C tier is a travesty. That needs to be much higher. I'm going to put Berserker probably in A tier. I remember a year ago I was saying like I haven't been able to use it effectively, consistently enough. I have learned its situational value since then, and I would not have been able to win certain fights without it. So it's at least B tier for me, probably A tier. Taking a look at B tier, Magic Arrow, what are you doing in B tier? I mean, it's not an elemental damage dealing spell, so it affects golems and things like that. more effectively. But that's at least that's C or D tier for me now. I have Blast, Haste, and Slow in B tier. I kind of like that. They're first level spells that deserve some love. I think B tier is a good home for them. Anti-magic should probably be A tier, though, I think. Dispel Magic and Master Spell, B tier. That feels good. Resurrect. If Resurrect True is S tier, then Resurrect should be A tier, I think. Resurrect is a good spell. It's impermanent, but it could be the difference between winning a fight and losing a fight. B tier kind of clawing at A tier for me. Town Gate as B tier. That's also approaching A tier for me a little bit. And Disrupting Ray should probably be an A tier spell. And the reason why is because, I don't know if I said this a year ago, but it's a spell that has nothing to do with a caster's ability. Meaning it doesn't matter what your spell power is. Anybody can cast it and has the same effect. It lowers the defense skill of a unit by 3 permanently for the whole fight. There's no duration on that. It just lowers it by 3 automatically, just like that. That makes it a uniquely qualified spell, I think. And its effect is pretty darn good for fighting like really tough stacks of Titans or Ogre Lords or Master Swordsmen where there's like hundreds of them. Definitely A tier for me. Holy Shout being in B tier, it's 12 spell points. It deals a lot of damage to undead. Maybe it stays in B tier, but it's kind of slipping to C tier for me. I think we haven't talked about Teleport yet. Teleport B tier? Sure. I'm going to leave that in B tier. I like it because if you looked at the creature tier list, I like the unicorns. I like Minotaur Kings, Ogre Lords. It's a really good way to get them into fights quicker or over walls when you're taking castles. So yeah, B tier, that's good. Okay, looking at the A tier spells, I think Lightning Bolt and Cold Ray are actually slipping to B tier for me. I find myself not casting them as much as I'm casting battlefield control spells, but it is nice to just like zap a stack or whatever and just totally drop it. So they're A tier slipping to B tier for me, but all the other spells are at least A tier, maybe S tier. Looking at you, Animate Dead. Animate Dead permanently resurrects undead stacks. It's the Resurrect True for the undead, and it's cheaper than Resurrect True. So yeah, I think Animate Dead belongs right next to Resurrect True in S tier. I would also put Armageddon in S tier now, because there are plenty of builds where people make dragon-only armies, and they spam Armageddon. It's the biggest damage-dealing spell in the game. So yeah, if you have nothing but stacks of dragons, cast Armageddon. S tier. Because if you're casting Armageddon, you're either massively wounding the enemy in a lost, or you're destroying them with dragons in the late game. So yeah, S tier spell. And the other S tier spells we have are Chain Lightning, Town Portal, Resurrect True, Mass Slow, and Dimension Door. I don't have a problem with any of those. Chain Lightning is a good fight ender. Right from turn 1, you just clear out 4 stacks and your Titans take out the last stack or whatever. I'm going to leave that in S tier. It's a really good damage dealing spell. Second best damage dealing spell in my opinion to Armageddon. Dimension Door and Town Portal just break the game. Of course they're S tier. And we already talked about Resurrect True. Mass Slow is still my favorite combat spell. Do I think it's the best spell in the game? Combat spell in the game? I don't know. Maybe I still believe that. I don't know. I'm not so sure anymore. I know I had that moment where I cursed and told you it was the best spell in the game, but you know, I've softened on that position just a little bit. Still an S tier spell though, for sure. Oh man. This list is a mess. This is the artifact list. This is the first one I did. Look at him. You can see me. There he is. Before the pain. Before the weight of the YouTube comments. He doesn't know what's in store for him. He has no idea. No idea what's about to hit him. None whatsoever. What a dork. This is just a mess. This is a mess. I don't even know where to start. I think I actually have to redo this tier list. I think I'm just going to start over and do it again. My opinions have changed on all of these, except for maybe the Hideous Mask, the Fistman of Misfortune, and the Taxlian. Yeah, look how many artifacts are in D and F tier. That's just stupid. Yeah, I don't even know where to begin on this, so I'm actually probably going to redo this tier list, so look out for that in the future. By the way, this is our 500th YouTube episode. Yay! And we've kind of almost exhausted what the possibilities we have with Heroes of Might and Magic 2. Heroes of Might and Magic 2 will never leave Khelben's Coin. It will always be a part of us. It will always be something we do. But we're going to be introducing new things very, very soon. New games. A lot of Dungeons & Dragons content is coming. I'm planning on doing a Dungeons & Dragons stream really, really soon, so those episodes will end up on YouTube at some point. I think that's it. The biggest change is that a lot more Dungeons and Dragons content is coming, and new video game content is coming as well. But Heroes of Might and Magic will always be part of this channel. We'll play 2, we'll play 3, play 4. I have plans to play every Heroes of Might and Magic game in a series, and that's probably going to be really, really fun. But, you know, to be honest, like, you know, you guys are sticking with this, and I really appreciate the support you guys have shown. But views are down. And I think you guys are getting kind of sick of this stuff, so I definitely want to change it up and give you new stuff to get excited about. If you're here just for Heroes of Might and Magic, you'll still get it. You'll still get it. I've been kind of only releasing like 1 or 2 videos a week at a time. That's probably the rate at which Heroes of Might and Magic stuff will continue to be published. But in between, expect a lot more videos surrounding other topics. So that's it. I mean, we didn't revisit all the tier lists we did. The link is in the description below if you want to watch those videos. I just wanted to hit the major ones. And thank you all for watching Khelben's Coin. Appreciate each and every one of you. Crit that subscribe button for future episodes because more are definitely coming your way. And take care of yourselves in the meantime, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.